Hey, today we're discussing the new major order and also taking a look at the previous major order message. Plus, the community manager answered a question about where they get their ideas. We'll also cover why there's no patch and what's happening, and there's so much more to discuss. If you've enjoyed my content before, please support the channel by clicking the thumbs up button below the video. So let's jump right in. Hey Helldivers, we've got news about a liberation buff. In the latest major order success message, High Command revealed that the habitat technology the automatons were using is now in our hands. We've expanded Outpost Alpha, which is now named Gloom Base Alpha. It'll span several interconnected subterranean complexes. Gloom Base Alpha will also contain reinforced habitat walls, rupture strain detection networks, improved spore proofing, ventilation systems, and so on. High Command also mentioned that Gloom Base Alpha will house the very best of Super Earth's logistic officers. The logistical support in the area will combat the adverse effects of the gloom and help liberation efforts on nearby hive worlds. So by completing the recent major order, we've received a liberation buff for hive world planets, meaning we should be able to liberate those planets in the near future. On that note, the newest major order was announced a few minutes ago. High Command gave word that the Democracy Space Station will receive an upgrade. It will soon be able to travel inside the gloom. However, there's one problem. The engineers discovered that a particular planet on the Illuminate side has what we need to complete the upgrade. So that's where we come in, to liberate and hold 4 planets. I might mispronounce them since I'm unsure how they're said until we can actually travel to those planets. Nevertheless, the ones we have to hold are Alarath, Hydrobius, Carlia, and Hellmire. The best way to approach this new major order is by attacking the planet Alamok first, as it's the quickest and fastest way to reach the planet we need to liberate and hold. Plus, it has a low resistance of 0.22. Then we can move to Alarath, which has a resistance of 1.00. Also, that's low too. From there, we can proceed to either Hydrobius or Carlia. I suggest Carlia since it currently has a resistance of 0.71 compared to Hydrobius, which is 1.07. While the difference isn't huge, heading to Carlia could make liberation easier and faster, so it's ultimately up to you, Helldivers. Let me know your thoughts on this game plan. Moving along, we have a question from a Helldiver who asked Arrowhead's community manager, Baskinator, where they get their ideas. Do they read what players post in the chat, or are their ideas pre-planned? Baskinator replied that when it comes to design and concepts, they don't directly use player suggestions. If players see their ideas reflected, it's likely because great minds think alike. However, for tweaks or changes to gameplay, they absolutely take player feedback to heart and make adjustments based on what the community says. This is a great answer because, as you all know, the community wasn't happy with the unpredictable nature of the rupture strain. This led the developers to temporarily remove it so they could make adjustments, with plans to bring it back in 5 weeks. On that note, it's interesting that we didn't receive a patch today. The game is currently in a rough state due to bugs, crashes, and performance issues. Problems the community has been vocal about for a long time, urgently asking the developers to address. I think their plan is to fix as many issues as possible over the next 5 weeks, and then release an update that will likely resolve several bugs, improve performance, and reintroduce the rupture strain. I could be wrong, but that's my assumption, and we won't know until the devs share their plans. So far, there's been no word on what they're working on, and I think I can speak for most of the community when I say it's frustrating. It feels like communication hasn't been the same as it used to be. Now, since we're talking about core issues and performance, we've got word that the Helldivers official subreddit received backlash. Why, you might ask? Well, they removed a mega thread, specifically the moderators, that contained several reported issues, which left the community confused. So a Helldiver posted a thread that received almost 3,000 upvotes. They covered several bugs. For instance, I didn't know this was a common issue, but supposedly, War Striders can cause consistent crashes. If you've dealt with that before, let me know in the comments. There's a second bug that has to do with audio issues on the Gloom planets, including hive worlds. The third bug listed is one I'm familiar with: certain enemies can clip through walls. I think this mostly happens with flesh mobs, but feel free to correct me in the comments. The fourth bug involves automatons and affects frame rates and audio, which can cut out whether are on the planet or not. There's also an issue with colors missing for certain automatons. Not to mention, there's a common problem with chargers that are supposed to weigh a ton, yet somehow they have no sound and can sneak up on you easily. Anywho, I could go on with a list and mention my own stuff, but I'll stop. I'd like to know what bugs or issues you've encountered that aren't listed here. I like to ask this quite often to see if there's anything new as of late. Anyway, I got a bit off topic, so let's cover the final question. A Helldiver asked, why megacities have a decay rate when defending? Basquinator responded that she doesn't have an answer yet, but will check with the team working on the galactic map. If there's any update, I'll post another video discussing what she finds out, so stay tuned and we'll see what she has to say later. With that said, let's continue on. I think what I'm about to cover will be interesting, and I'm curious to see your reaction. A fellow Helldiver posted an amazing feedback suggestion thread on the Helldivers subreddit page about boosters. The first booster, Hell Pod Space Optimization, which we all use, would become a ship upgrade instead of a booster. This would make a big difference on the battlefield. The only issue is, I don't think it would benefit other players in your squad if it was a ship upgrade, right? I don't believe any of the ship upgrades you receive benefit other players. I might be wrong, but my memory is a little off. Haven't slept yet, by the way. Too much caffeine. The second booster is the Firebomb Hellpod booster that would allow players to deploy a small incendiary mortar with supply pods, similar to the armed resupply pod booster. I like that idea a lot. I rarely see anyone use the Firebomb booster or stun pod booster. On that note, the stun supply pod was suggested to include a miniature EMS mortar on the resupply pod. If your squad loadout includes both the Firebomb and stun pod boosters, they would share a single mortar that unleashes both EMS and incendiary shells, which, by the way, is absolutely nuts, and I like it. Can you imagine how fun that would be? I'd be more likely to use those boosters. Anyways, at number 4, the Expert Extraction Pilot Booster would automatically be called in as soon as the mission is completed. It would hover, firing anything in its range until the Helldivers reach the extraction area. I can completely get behind this, though I might be wrong. I feel the developers wouldn't like it because it could allow players to complete missions much faster, speeding up planet liberation. Still, it's an amazing idea. At number 5, the Dead Sprint Booster wouldn't affect low health and stamina wouldn't deplete. Instead, you would receive a small damage reduction. The 6th and 7th booster include increased reinforcement budget and flexible reinforcement budget. They both would be combined into one. Next, at number 7, the Localization Confusion Booster would spawn enemy reinforcements farther away from where they were called in, and patrols near you would be directed away. I like this idea as well, but the only problem is it could affect defense missions significantly, so it might need a few tweaks if the developers consider it. Next, the Sample Scanner Booster would refill stamina and slightly reduce stratagem cooldowns. The Sample Extricator Booster would give players a chance to pick up samples and ammo when destroying larger enemies, or it would provide a speed boost and refill stamina. Armed Resupply Boost, or Resupply Pods I should say booster, would receive an increased turret magazine size or add an anti-tank mine. The UAV Recon Booster would reveal every enemy on the map. The Muscle Enhancement Booster would grant players a 10% increase in melee damage and a slight improvement in ergonomics. Lastly, the Motivational Shocks Booster would increase speed after taking damage and allow quicker recovery from ragdolls. Overall, I'd say this would make a huge difference when using those boosters and would actually make them fun to use. What do you think? Would this be the right way to adjust the boosters or not? Post a comment below and let me know what you think. Lastly, we've got the top 3 comments from Darkness Shadow KGA that spoke about how divers don't want free content. They actually want the game to be resolved and, I don't know, just be better, right? And that's absolutely true. There's a lot of issues. We've talked about it before. We actually even talked about today's video with the crashes, performance issues, and just it needs to be improved overall. The second comment also is talking about this as well, with how they hope that everything is fixed soon, and that's by YTYT2245. Shout out to you. I always appreciate your comments. And yeah, it's absolutely nuts. They need to not repeat history here. The third and final comment is by Can't Breathalyze Meth 1. Oh man, I remember you as well. A shout out to you as well, and to Darkness too. You talked about how you want Arrowhead to fix the game for Christmas, to make it more functional. And yeah, I think everybody here on the channel and all the Helldivers out there would agree with you. So those are the top 3 comments. I hope you have enjoyed today's video. As always, tap the thumbs up button harder than you've ever have before. Just give it a thumbs up, subscribe, turn on notifications if you haven't done so already. I appreciate everyone from subs to lurkers to members, everybody. Just letting you know, it's free to subscribe. It doesn't cost. Just tap that subscribe button, turn on notifications, and thank you for watching. I'll see you in the next one.